everyone to another episode of Youth Sports Stories. I'm really excited to have Izell Reese here today. So Izell, welcome. And why don't you tell everyone a little bit about your role and what you do and introduce yourself a little bit.
Hi, and thanks for having me, Natalie. Izell Reese. I am the president and GM of Reigning Champs Experiences, and our focus is participating in youth through sports and making sure they have a phenomenal time. And so that's through leagues, camps, combines, tournaments, you name it. And I think what makes us really unique is the brands that we represent as part of this movement and initiative with you. We work very closely with the NFL, the NBA, NAIA, NCAA, and a host of other organizations. But our keen focus is youth and just making sure they got the opportunities like I did personally playing sports. So we really enjoy what we do at Reigning Champs Experience.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love what you guys do as well. So, that's a perfect segue. So why don't you tell me a little bit about your youth sports stories? Like, where did it all start? I know you made it all the way to the pros, which is a dream of a lot of kids, but I'd love to start like at the very beginning, like where you started.
Yeah, for me, the very beginning, it goes back, 12 years old, if you will, 10 to 12 years old. So, I played some sports, but when I really got into organized sport, that's when, I really fell in love with it. I didn't come from a lot. But sport was something that for me, I learned a lot. I played multiple sports growing up. So it wasn't just football. It was basketball. It was baseball. It was track. It was anything, any sport that I was fortunate to be introduced to. I had accessibility to. I played it, or at least tried to play it. Let's just call it that. So, and then when I got into middle school, I remember the first time I put on a helmet. And playing tackle football, and it was something about it. I remember the first practice, I was like, oh, I really like this. And so from there, again, I continued to play other sports like basketball as well and track. But football, I was always partial to it. It was just something about the sport. I think for every kid, they kind of find their sport or sports, if you will. And I continued to play multiple sports in middle school, in high school. And I was hopeful that I would get to go on and play in college. I would say fortunately, unfortunately, it happened. Unfortunately, I didn't get a scholarship.
Yeah.
But I really felt that I wanted to continue to play sport. I couldn't afford to go to college. I almost went into the military. And I got this random call from a coach and said, we really don't have scholarships, but I heard a lot about you. We just started our football program. This was at University of Alabama at Birmingham. And he said, well, if you want to come up here and join us, we're a Division III football program. We don't really have funds. You can eat at the church with us. And that was enough for me. So I was like, all right, he wants me. I'm going to go. And so I worked for a year, saved up what little money I could. Obviously, it was gone in the first semester. But I went out for the collegiate program, made the team, started as a freshman, and went on to start for 4 years. And our program actually went from Division III, jumped up to 1AA at the time, as they used to call it, to Division I while I was there.
Wow.
So I played at 3 different levels. But the fortunate thing about that, I got to go from eating at the church to books paid for to partial scholarship to full ride when we went to Division I. And then in '98, myself and a teammate of ours were the first 2 players to be drafted to the NFL from that university in football.
That is incredible.
And
that's a great
yeah. So you talk about going full circle. So I had a great NFL career. I got drafted in '98, played with the Cowboys for a number of years, then went on to the Broncos, then the Buffalo Bills, then back to Dallas. So I went kind of full circle. But when I look back and think about my journey, it told me that I wanted to help. I had a Cinderella story in sports, and I knew I wanted to stay in sports, and I knew I wanted to work with youth. I mean, it was if that opportunity presented itself, I wanted to do. So I really helped a lot of kids in recruiting. That's where it started. Kids that aspired to play in college, being that walk-on, I wanted to tell kids there's a lot of divisions out there, a lot of opportunities, a lot of sports. And if you open your eyes or open up, I mean, there's a lot of chances that could be out there, because most people just think D1, and you want to tell them there's multiple division levels out there and opportunities. So both male and female. And so I did that for a long period. And then a couple years ago, reigning champs experience, and it just evolved. I just kind of fully dedicated myself to sport and giving kids those opportunities. And so that's what led to what I do today with reigning champs experiences. And I know I touched on some of the brands, but NFL flag football, we oversee, and I'm very fortunate after playing in the NFL to see something as unique and as big as it. 500,000 kids playing, 1,500 leagues. It's massive, very unique opportunity for kids. They get to be the Cowboys and Broncos and wear the brands. So really enjoy that. And then I run some different camps in different sports and tournaments, some centered around flag, and then some with the other brands that I alluded to earlier. So I stopped working a long time ago. I don't even call this a job because I enjoy it too much. And the real value add of is just seeing kids light up when they get that opportunity to play in sports at a young age, same way I did as a kid. So that value is priceless. So I enjoy it.
That's awesome. I feel that way about what I do here too. It's like I can't wait sometimes for Mondays just to get busy on things, and we got so much momentum going on right now. So makes it a lot. Yeah, it's not work. It's like doing your passion. So
right.
That's awesome. What an amazing story. So one of the things that I'm trying to highlight in these conversations is really speaking about the value of youth sports and like what people can learn from playing youth sports. I mean, you had the Cinderella story going all the way to the pros. Not everyone's going to do that,
Right.
and so that I think there's tremendous value in kids playing youth sports, even if they're where it ends is high school and or even middle school. Maybe they don't even make it onto the high school team. I think there's just still so much value in getting that opportunity to play. So I just love you to reflect back on, youth sports and even playing in the pros. But like, what do you think are some of those life lessons that you learned on the field, on the court, that have translated into what you do now?
Well, it's I would say majority of it. To be honest, I mean the things I like to equate it to the things that I learned as a child through sport couldn't be taught in books, and to learn that at an early age, like adversity. I struggle with this day trying to teach my son adversity, but when you're on a field or you're down and you come back and you win a game, or you get knocked down and you get back up, I just describe what you learn through sport. Leadership, teamwork, camaraderie, things that I was a part of and benefited at every level. So no different than when I was 10 years old or 25 years old playing in the NFL. I mean, those still resonate and hold true to being successful individually and collectively. If you take those characteristics of like teamwork, for instance, and camaraderie, any successful team will tell you that team chemistry and what that means. So when you think about it, even in the things I do now with in work environments and leading a team and staff, if you will, it's the same DNA. It's that chemistry that you're teaching them. And then for me being in a leadership role, yet another quality that starts when a young age. I mean, I remember when I fell in love with football and I was a star athlete on the team, it propelled me into being a team captain. And being a team captain, you're a leader on the field. And so to learn some of those skill sets early on was extremely important. And I'll be honest, it also made me a better student. When I was growing up, I had challenges early on academically, but when I found sport, it made me a better student. It made me commit myself fully to understanding what it meant to be a student athlete. It goes hand in hand. But I mean, everything that I learned as a kid, I mean, of course, it evolves. I continue to mature in those qualities and traits, but they all started early on. I mean, and that's something that is helping me with my own kids on some of those qualities, and that they're able to learn through sport. And it's kind of unique when you can show them real world examples, like say, see, this is what it means to keep fighting, to keep pushing, even though you were down, and then you come out and you win a game, or when they don't make a play and it's next play. That's something sport teaches you. Like that's something we learn in life. Next play, good, bad, or indifferent. You keep pushing forward, and the hard work will always pay off. And so, again, these were things that coaches taught me early on, and you hear it so often, you start to believe it, and when you start to believe it, you physically see it. I'm talking childhood. I know it may not sound like it, but that is what sport does, and it has definitely had everything to do with my success off the field.
Yeah.
There is no way I would be in the position I am, obviously going full circle, but the successes I've had, there's no way I would have had it without the things I learned through sport, coupled with education, obviously. But had I not been introduced to sports early in my life, and then also health and wellness, continue to try to stay in shape, if you will, but as a child, and being healthy because of sport and being active is something that is very important, and definitely another benefit and value that comes with playing sport at a young age.
Yeah. Well, I love it. Those are all, yeah, great answers. And I think when I work with kids a lot, I think one of the things that, especially more recently, teaching them how to lose. Um, I think a lot of times parents try and make the super smooth path for them, where they have no adversity and they have no like challenges, and like they smooth everything out for them. And sport is one of those great things. It's like you can't do that in sports, right? I mean, they're
Right.
going to lose a game. They're going to not make the catch. They're going to trip on their shoelaces, and or whatever it is, or handballs and soccer, or whatever it is, they're going to miss the goal. And so I love sport for that, right? Because it's right in the moment. Like they learn it and they have to get over it or not. And
Right.
it's just such a great teaching tool, for so many of those things. So well said.
Yeah, no
Well, thank you.
question. I know I said next play earlier, but next game, right?
Yeah,
To your point, teach them how to lose, and just next game, put it behind you, learn from it. It's not that you fail. If you take what comes from it, you're not supposed to win at everything in life.
yeah,
And so again, that's sports gives those lessons and those real world examples to a kid at a young age, which is awesome.
yeah. I also see in today's world, that the kids they don't learn how to communicate very well because they're on their phones and they do Snapchats and they do little texts and they do all this little stuff. And you can't do that on a field, right? I mean, you actually have to be
Right.
communicating when you're playing with your teammates. There's all this nonverbal communication that happens. And, the teams that win and play well together are all communicating. And I think you learn that valuable communication skill as well, that, a lot of times that aren't playing sports don't necessarily get that because, so much is on the device, and it's kind of a lost art that's happening for our kids. So it's
Right.
kind of scary. So I love that about sports too, is they're forced to communicate. So
Absolutely. Great point. Great point. Yeah. And then when they can put the phones down, I mean, they have their place and everything in technology. But to communicate with people, to communicate with your peers, and the value of friendship and team. I mean, I think about, high school, college, pro teammates, we still have a bond to this day at every level.
yeah,
Because you build lifelong friends through sport as well, coupled with that. So it's just one more thing that comes out of that communication and teamwork of playing youth sport.
yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I just love to end by, we both have a passion for getting youth into sports, and I think we're going to be doing a lot of great work together, which I'm really excited about. And uh, just I would just love to hear your thought as a closing thought about why it's so important to get more, especially the low income kids, into sports.
It's critical. From a personal note, I came from an underserved community, and I was fortunate, with family, friends, affordable programs, some of them even free. that I had the opportunity to be a part of growing up. And as I said earlier, without sport, I don't know what path I would have went, how things would have shaked out. It's definitely a big part of who I am. And so I was very fortunate to get that. And, in this current climate, as you know, we're in a different day and time, and youth sports has become haves versus have nots. Accessibility, affordability of kids in underserved communities, and making sure that they have those opportunities is personal to me, is a goal of mine, is the reason why you have Every Kid Sports and the phenomenal program and nonprofit that you created, that I'm a huge fan of, because kids need it. I mean, you and I had those opportunities to play sports, and so to hopefully team up with you and continue to drive this. But I just it means a lot. I mean, my kids, they have the opportunity, obviously, that I've been afforded to grant them, but more importantly, giving as many kids as possible those opportunities as well, regardless of the socioeconomic makeup, is critically important in our day and time, and even more so given the climate that we're in and dealing with COVID and everything. Everything has been amplified, if you will. And so all these kids, and so when you think about the underserved community, after coming or starting to try to come out of this, it's intensified even more. It was a problem before. So even more reason or resources, support needs to be put to this, to get these kids out that are dealing with now mental health issues, coupled with coming from underserved communities. So it's important to get these kids out and get them active. So firm believer in it.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking your time today. This has been a phenomenal conversation. Loved hearing your story, and look forward to continuing the conversation as we move forward. So
thank you. I can't wait. Thanks for having me, Natalie.
All right. Sounds great.